Oh, nggak, iya ya, ya ya. Udah nggak Pak. Nggak, yang ini tutup aja, ini tutup aja. Ini ditutup.
Yang ini tutup.
Ah, udah. Satu. Very good morning for the speakers and participants from the Netherlands country or other European countries. Good morning, good afternoon for the speakers and participants from Malaysia and Indonesia. Dr. Nolila from Malaysia and Dr. Delima Azahari, Dr. Arifin from Indonesia. This is our speakers today. I'm Nazaruddin, the moderator of today's international webinar, because Dr. Ida Arsanti, she has another meeting this afternoon with our minister. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to join the webinar. This webinar is conducted by Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic under Ministry of Agriculture, the Republic of Indonesia. This seminar will discuss about competitiveness and sustainability of horticulture, agribusiness, and in the new normal. For today's seminar, we have 4 speakers. The first, Professor Nolila Muhammad Nawi, Head Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics, Faculty of Agriculture, University Putra Malaysia. She will deliver the topic of agribusiness management and horticulture in Malaysia. Second, Dr. Delima Hasri Azahari, Senior Researcher, Indonesia Center for Agriculture, Social, Economic, and Policy, Ministry of Agriculture, Republic of Indonesia. She will mention about horticulture, agribusiness, its potential, and competitiveness. The third, Mr. Rens Kinirim, he is Ridwan, it's a little bit difficult to pronounce. Ridwan Business Manager Asia, Chamber of Commerce, Hague London, the Netherlands, will present the topic management for increasing competitiveness for horticulture agribusiness in the new normal, the Netherlands perspective and experiences. The last speaker, Dr. Arifin Tasrif. He is from Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, Ministry of Agriculture. He will deliver the topic of impact on NTMS. You can ask him, what does it mean, NTMS? On agriculture, trade, challenges and opportunity for a horticulture agribusiness. The participant, ladies and gentlemen, actually today our Director General, Professor Dr. Dedi Nursamsi, will deliver his keynote speech. But now he has a short and important meeting with our minister, and that he promised to join this seminar as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, now we enter the time for presentation directly, I think. Before that, allow me to inform the regulation of this webinar as follows. Presentation will take time around 15 to 20 minutes. Discussion will be conducted after all of our speakers deliver their presentation. Participants who would like to ask questions or give suggestions could write the question on chat box, or if we still have time, we will give one or two participants to ask questions directly by raise their hands. For the first time, we give time for Professor Dr. Nolila Muhammad Nawi from Malaysia. Prof. Nolila, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Nazaruddin. I hope everyone can hear me. Can everyone listen to me? I don't know whether everyone's okay or not.
Excuse me? Yes, it is okay now.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start my presentation. I can cannot click. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. Okay, so I'm Nolila Muhammad Nawi from the Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics, Faculty of Agriculture, UPM. Okay, so today I'm going to share with all of us on my topic that entitled Agribusiness Management of Horticulture in Malaysia during the New Normal. Okay, so I will start my presentation. This is basically some outline of my presentation on overview of Malaysian agriculture sectors, Malaysian horticulture industry, and so on. Okay, so first let us look at the overview of Malaysian agriculture sector. Okay, so basically agriculture remains as an important sector to Malaysian economy, and we are contributing around 7.3% or 99.5 billion to the national GDP in 2018. And in terms of employability, this agriculture sector able to giving opportunity in terms of employability around 16% to the total population. And when we look at the major contributor to the GDP of agriculture sector in Malaysia, of course, I mean, oil palm is the main contributor, around 37.9%, followed by other agriculture, around 25.1%. And then when we talk about horticulture industry, it's basically included under other agriculture, which is accounted for 25.1%, followed by livestock, around 14.9%, fishing, forestry and logging, and finally rubber, around 2.8%. And then if you look at the figure there, so basically the main contributor towards the economy GDP is service sector. I think it's the same with Indonesia. And then, of course, when we look at our country food import bill, it has risen from 30 billion ringgit in 2010 to 50 billion ringgit in 2018. And of course, for Malaysia, we are basically trade deficit, meaning that our import more than export. So this is, I mean, I do not know about Indonesia, but basically this is what happening to our nation, especially in terms of food import. Okay. Why I cannot go next?
Next. Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to share a little bit about the Malaysian horticulture industry. So when we talk about horticulture industry in Malaysia, currently we have around 300,000 farmers or agripreneurs that involved in horticulture industry. And then of course for the horticulture crops, we are also the net importer for this industry. And then now I would like to share about the fruits and vegetables industry in Malaysia for 2018. For the total planted areas, we have around 200,058 hectares of area for that planted with fruit and vegetables. And then our main production areas are in Selangor, Johor and Pahang. There are 3 states in Malaysia. Okay, and then in terms of our self-sufficiency level for fruits, we are currently at 78%, while for vegetables it's just only around 44%. And then in terms of per capita consumption, for fruits we have around 60 kg per year per person, and then for vegetables it's around 82 kg per year per person. So basically in terms of per capita consumption, it's quite okay for vegetables as well as for fruit. And then when we talk about major export market, for fruits, basically our main importer countries are Singapore, China and Middle East. And then for vegetables, we have Singapore, India and China. And then now let's look at the floriculture industry. And then for floriculture, basically in Malaysia, we are still what we can say is still a new industry for agriculture sector in Malaysia. Is still at the infancy level. Okay, and then that's why we can see that the total planted areas for floriculture is just around 2,600 hectares compared to fruits and vegetables just now. And then in terms of total production values, is just around RM 354 million ringgit. Okay, and then the main major production areas also in Selangor, Johor and Pahang for floriculture. And then for markets, basically most of our floriculture we are selling into the domestic markets, accounted for 84%, and then only 60% were exported. And then for the local buyer, mostly our local buyer for floriculture is institutional buyers such as hotel, restaurant and so on. Okay, and then in terms of major importer countries, Japan, Thailand, Singapore, Australia and also UAE. And then even though this floriculture industry is not that big, but it's able to contribute more than 500 million ringgit from the export revenue of this floriculture industry to the Malaysian agriculture sector. Okay, so I just want to share a little bit about the issues in Malaysian horticulture industry. So the main issues that affecting our horticulture industry in Malaysia currently is about low productivity of this production. This is due to the average farm size of the horticulture industry, mainly 2 hectares. This is basically quite small, isn't it? So since this is the size of the farm is quite small, which is only in average only 2 hectares, it caused the rising cost in terms of production. Because when we talk about economics terms, of course, I mean, when the size is small, so the production cost will normally rise. Okay, and then besides that, we are also facing with the limited financing. Also small investment from the private sector to this horticulture industry. And also we are facing with the issues of insufficient number of skilled farmers. And then beside that, we also having an issue on low technology adoption among the farmers in horticulture industry. Also, we are having issues or challenges related to market expansion to our floriculture industry specifically. Because as I mentioned earlier, our floriculture industry is still new. So in terms of market, export market is not that much. So we are still looking at the market expansion for floriculture industry. Okay, beside all these issues, now I would like to share about the marketing channels that are being using by the horticulture industry or horticulture players. Okay, so basically most of our farmers in horticulture industry are selling their produce using the farm gate sales, I mean direct to the buyers, and also they are selling through intermediaries such as collectors, agents, wholesalers and others. And then they also selling their produce through farmers market. I think it's the same in Indonesia, and also through contract farming, which is a guaranteed market normally, and also to the export market as well as online marketing. So this is basically the current marketing channels that being applied by our farmers in the horticulture industry or the supply chain players in the horticulture industry. Now I would like to share related to COVID-19 pandemic. So what is happening during this current situation of the new normal that we are talking today? Okay, so as I'm not sure whether everyone is aware or not, but basically when we talk about Malaysia, on March 18, the government has introduced the Movement Control Order, or MCO, to overcome the pandemic crisis. Because nowadays all the countries in the nation, in the globe, are having these same issues related to pandemic situation, isn't it? COVID-19. Okay, so in terms of our horticulture industry itself, due to this MCO or movement control order, farmers are facing difficulties in terms of delivering their products, where delivery trucks normally being caught up in the rigorous regulation imposed by the authorities. And also they are facing with the restriction on traffic and market operating hours, which directly affected the supply chain for horticulture industry. Okay, so since it's been introduced on March 18, so this situation keep giving problems to the horticulture industry. And then when we talk about export market, when the MCO has been introduced, so some of the borders has been closed, where we cannot export our horticulture produce. And also we are facing with problems related to illegal workers, because in agriculture sector in Malaysia, we are depending too much on foreign workers. And then when this happening, when the pandemic COVID-19 happening to our country, so the authorities has been looking at all the workers in Malaysia, and then there are lots of issues related to illegal workers, especially in the agriculture sectors, specifically horticulture industry. So this also giving problems, okay? And then due all to this situation, it caused huge amount of food wastage in terms of horticulture crops production, which is food as well as floriculture. Okay, so as you can see there, I share some cover story of the newspaper cutting, where MCO cast spotlight on the disconnect in agribusiness supply chain. So this is very affecting the industry directly, very affected. Okay, we are very affected. And now I would like to share the impact of MCO that was introduced in March 2000 in March last 3 months. Okay, sorry. So during this MCO, when it was introduced, 2,300 vegetable growers in Cameron Highlands. Cameron Highlands is basically one of the main production area for horticulture, especially vegetables in Malaysia. It's a highland area. Okay, so 2,300 vegetable growers has been affected. Normally, they are producing 800 metric tons of vegetables per day. And then during this situation, they only able to sell 30% of their produce. Okay, so due to this situation, it resulted in an estimated loss faced by the farmers around 1 million ringgit a day when MCO has been introduced. And then for floriculture industry, until 15 April 2020, estimated losses for this floriculture industry is around 40 million ringgit. Okay, so that's why, as I mentioned earlier, it caused a lot of wastage in the horticulture industry. After we are introducing MCO, Movement Control Order, the government has introduced the new one, which is Conditional Movement Control Order, and as well as the Recovery Movement Control Order. For Conditional Movement Control Order, it was introduced in May, replacing MCO until June 9. And then after June 9, the government introducing a Recovery Movement Control Order until this coming August, okay, until end of this month. So basically, when the government introducing this recovery and conditional movement control orders, is basically to reopen the national economy in a controlled manner. But of course, when the government introduced this new thing, okay, the market producer, the fresh produce market can operate as usual with strict SOPs, okay. And of course, due to this new new control order has been introduced, so horticulture farmers can reduce losses, as well as they can continue their operation with more lenient SOPs during this RMCO. So at the moment, we able to operate as usual, but of course we still need to follow some SOPs that has been introduced by the government in terms of controlling the spread of this pandemic situation. And due to all these movement control orders, the government, of course, giving the support to the industry, okay, such as lending facilities. The government has introduced this what we call 6-month moratorium since April until this coming September. So all loans that being applied by the farmers or the supply chain players in the agriculture sectors, and then not only for the agriculture sectors, basically for the whole nation. Okay, so any loans that we are having with the bank, we are not, we are allowed not to pay. Okay, for our loans, for example, your car loan, your personal loan, or anything that related to loans, as well as any loans that related to agriculture sectors. And then, of course, the government also made some fund injections for infrastructure development, as well as short-term agriculture projects. And also the government also introduced the special funds for the agro sector, where the government put some 1 billion ringgit for the food security fund. Okay, why I cannot go next? Okay, so basically, due to all these issues, this situation during this pandemic situation, of course, the industry needs to respond beside what has been given by the government. So this is where I want to relate with the online business, because we can see all this online business keep going well at the moment, okay, where during the using the online business, farmers could make better profits through this digital marketing, because we know that by having this digital marketing or online marketing, traditional middlemen would no longer have a role. So the farmers can sell direct to their buyers. And also, however, farmers still need to enhance their online marketing capacity to stay competitive, and also to reduce their dependency on middlemen. Besides that, we can see that various farmers association in Malaysia also has set up their own online platform, okay, to overcome the current situation. And also they also making the partnership with online platform providers such as Lazada, Shopee, Lalamove, and other online providers, okay, that we are having in Malaysia. And at the same time, the retailers in the agriculture sector, they also develop or enhance the online platform that they are having, because now we know that most of the retailers, they are also having their own online platform. It's just that during this current pandemic situation, they are enhancing their online platform or their website and so on. Okay, we can see that. So this is basically, I want to share about the adoption of online marketing in Malaysia. Okay, so from these two news that I'm sharing today, okay, 27 grocery stores with online delivery in Malaysia for 14 days of movement control order. So we can see that most of the retailers, they are taking this opportunity by adopting online marketing. And then for the next news related to agriculture expert hails e-retail of farm produce, where the expert in the agriculture sectors, they are also mentioned that the goodness of online marketing during this pandemic situation. And this one, I want to share how Lazada profited from down wages during the lockdown. So basically, the first, the main things that happening in Malaysia when the MCO has been introduced, we can see that one of the biggest online provider in Malaysia, which is Lazada. I know Lazada also have in Indonesia, as well as most of the countries in the world. So on March 25th, Cameron farmers collaborated with Lazada Malaysia and created seller center account. And then after they having this collaboration, on March 27, they are having their first delivery, where vegetables are sold individually or packed in a variety of bundles and priced between 20 ringgit to 30 ringgit. And then due to this collaboration, Cameron farmers able to sold 1.5 tons of vegetable to some 200 households per day in their early collaboration. And then after that, they able to double the orders to 400 households per day. And then due to this collaboration, within a month, they able to gather nearly 30,000 followers with almost 100% rating. Because we know that when we're using online platform, the rating is very important. So I just sharing this one because to see the impact of this adoption of online marketing, and then how the collaboration with the online platform provider can give benefit to the industry. And this is also some of the news cutting. where on 16 April, we can see that farmers stopped dumping vegetables in Cameroon due to this collaboration that are happening not only with Lazada, also with Shopee and other providers, and then where retailers are also enhancing their online platforms, and then some farmers also using social media, okay, to sell their produce. And then this one, we can see that veggies delivered direct from farm to home continues to be in demand. If you look at the date of that news cutting is on July 19, meaning that the impact of this online marketing keep continues in Malaysia. And then I also like to talk about the changes in consumer preferences, because the reopening of the morning and night markets as well as farmers market, even now in Malaysia, all these markets are opening now because we are in the RMCO condition, which is recovery movement control orders, which is the what we call it, the SOPs is not as strict as during MCO. So where all the farmers market able to operate, even though the time is still, I mean, they need to reduce some of the time, not like last time, I mean, let's say they can operate until 10 or 12, but now until 6 p.m. But even though the farmers market are now opening, the customers still continue purchasing their fresh produce online. And then according to this Lazada Group CEO, he said that when consumers build a habit, it doesn't easily go away, and e-commerce will become a way of life. Okay, so we can see the impact now. And then purchasing groceries online and restaurant food takeouts has become more of a norm. Because last time, I mean, the situation, we can see the different condition where last time, I mean, when myself, when we talk about groceries online purchasing, I basically seldom purchasing groceries online. But of course, I'm purchasing the other things online like clothes, other things, makeup or whatever, but not for groceries. I mean, especially when we talk about fresh produce. But during to this situation, I mean, purchasing groceries, especially fresh produce, is become a new norm. Okay. And then online platform providers and farmers need to ensure the food safety, nutritional values, and certification of the producers. And then agribusinesses also need to change alongside consumer trends and adjust rapidly to the new landscape. So not only for the farmers, but the agribusiness in horticulture industry, they also need to adjust, okay, to what happening now. And this is also, I'm sharing some of the changes in the consumer preferences, where for the leafy vegetables, because just now I relate with the food safety, we can see that nowadays consumers are looking at the food safety as one of the main or relative importance food attributes when they are purchasing their produce. So this is what happening when we talk about online marketing, transparency, everything. So we can see that the demand of the food attributes are also changing by the consumers. So the farmers and the supply chain players in the horticulture industry need to look at this. So due to all this situation, for Malaysia horticulture industry, we need to think of something or the way forward for the Malaysian horticulture industry. Some of it is related to the opening of a new land areas for vegetables industry, because we can see that the land area for vegetables as well as for horticulture industry is not that much for Malaysia. So that's why the government has to do something. And then of course we need to have some import control for vegetables, because we can see that most of our vegetables are imported. So it giving a higher competition to Malaysian vegetables produce. Okay, and then the government also need to think about the enforcement of MyGap certification. In Malaysia, we has already introduced this MyGap certification. It's just that it's a voluntary things for the farmers, whether they want to adopt or not. So for the horticulture industry to move forward, we have to enforce the MyGap certification. I mean, meaning that it's compulsory for all the farmers to apply to this certification. And then we also need to talk about new export market for floriculture sectors. And also we need to talk about the adoption of IR 4.0. As I mentioned earlier, a low adoption of technology among the farmers in the horticulture industry are happening. So we are, in terms of way forward, we need to think about the adoption of IR 4.0. And also we cannot forget about the improvement in R&D activities. So of course, R&D activities keep continue at the moment. It's just that we need to improve to make sure that our horticulture industry is able to be more competitive and in the world, not only in the Asian nation or but globally. Okay, so from all the discussion that I have been sharing just now, so basically in terms of the conclusion, I can say that horticulture industry needs to stay in line with technology adoption to remain competitive and sustainable. And besides that, we can see that in the short term, increased adoption of digital technology is something that are necessity. Furthermore, adoption of technology among retailers able to help the farmers to be more competitive, at the same time less dependence on the market intermediaries. And in the longer term, we can say that this trend will be able to improve agriculture productivity, reduce labor dependency, as well as able to link farmers to buyers and logistics service providers. And finally, I think the government agencies also need to organize as well as coordinate logistic matters to aid farmers to reach out to their consumers. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you. Okay.
Benefit for all of audience for today's seminar. That is the condition, horticulture agribusiness condition in Malaysia. Of course, now we would like to know how is horticulture agribusiness in Indonesia. I invite Dr. Delima Azhari. Time is yours.
Thank you. Very good morning, good afternoon, all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, did you hear my voice?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Very clear, Bu.
Thank you. And okay, very clear, yeah. Thank you, Nazar. How are you? Hope you know. Okay, everybody, again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now it's my turn. I am Dr. Delima. I'm a senior researcher from the Indonesian Center for Agro, Socioeconomy and Policy under the Ministry of Agriculture. Next, please. Okay. Next. Next, please. Okay. Before I start my presentation, I want to inform you that what is horticulture in Indonesia before. Don't move too fast. Before slide before, one slide before, please. Okay, so horticulture in Indonesia, it consists of vegetables, fruits, floriculture, and medicinal plants, yeah, or biopharmaca. In Indonesia, we call it biopharmaca. When you see 2014 up to 2018 and now, in terms of production, and also plants. It's same the graphic trend is we produce more compared to 4 or 5 years ago. Next, please. Okay. what is the fruit? In terms of the fruit, it consists about, especially about fruit. We call it mangosteen, mango, papaya, rambutan or durian, or we call it king fruits, banana, and avocado and salaka. As produce about 228,000 tons every year, yeah, and also mango is about 2.6 million ton, papaya 800 almost 900,000 ton, and also rambutan. It's you can see here we produce a lot. Banana also up to 7.2 million tons. Next, please. Next. Okay. In terms of horticulture export and import, actually that even though we produce a lot of tropical fruit, tropical vegetables, and floriculture and medicinal plants, but the export is still limited. That we are considered as a net importing countries for horticulture. Yeah, you can see here the figures. I think I cannot go through one by one, but next please. Next slide. See this one, the comparison of export and import volume of horticulture in year of 2018, 2019. As I mentioned, we import a lot of vegetables. We produce 18,000 tons, but we import more than 1 million tons. In terms of fruit, we produce about 300,000 tons, but we import around 750,000 tons. In terms of biopharmaca or medicinal plants, we produce about 19,000 tons, but import 26,000. And in terms of chronic also cases, so considered as a net importing horticulture country. Next, please. And this is the figures regarding of about the vegetable, fruit, and medicinal. As I already mentioned, that time to time we export growing, but still also follow with the increasing in the value, and volume is growing, but still our import is still higher than our export. Next, please. Next. If you see this figure, we actually, the Indonesian horticulture export destination, we are United States of America is now is the biggest for also same with China, 12% during 2019, and Japan or Hong Kong, Spain. Even we also exported to Malaysia. 5% of our export. Next, please. Okay, this is just a figure about we total destination countries for our food countries, 54, I mean, countries. And in the medicinal plants, we export to India, Malaysia State, Taiwan, Korea, about 34 countries. And in floriculture, mostly we export to Japan, Germany, Netherlands, Singapore, but we have also exporting our floriculture to United States and New Zealand. Next, please. Of process and fresh, mostly vegetable processed in almost 50-50, processed and fresh. Our fruit usually we export it in terms of process, and our medicinal plant is mostly our export in terms of fresh one. Okay, next. Continue. So if you see, as already mentioned, one by one, if you can see the ones for countries, destination. For United States, we still import, but to United States, Australia, and New Zealand, we are still in our balance is in negative, but for the Netherlands, Germany, and Arab Emirates and Russia, we have balance positive. Horticulture. Next, please. And this is just a figure that value and destination of fruit and vegetable export from Indonesia, a list of importing market for a product export by Indonesia. I think you can see here in the figures that mostly edible vegetable and fruits and tubers. For importing market for the product export by Indonesia in years of 2019, also same edible fruit, nuts, pear, and citrus. Next, please. Next. Okay. See, this is the figures that by product to Europe, United States, Asia, Middle East, and China. Most we importing vegetables, and from Europe mostly we import vegetables and fruit, yeah. And then Indonesia market in year 2018 is even though it's very small in terms of the share, but in terms of volume still high. Next, please. Now, from the figures that I already shared with you, we see that we have a potential in producing our horticulture, but we from our research here, hot pot competitiveness for Indonesia it's we have less if we want to compete with others country that produce more vegetable and fruit. This is a one by one. For Chile, for example, we have this is and less competitive, and but some of the product, not some commodities, some of the product, it's seems there's a growing market like in terms of processed product, like a chili, in terms of ketchup, they are growing product. In must also even though we have a low competitive from our analysis, but in terms of process, we have a growing level. Also, in terms of mangosteen, also same like that. Next, please. We, as I mentioned before, our turmeric, we export our turmeric, ginger also, but almost all of this one, I think, still we need to increase our competitiveness in the international market. Next, please. Okay, now what is the challenge in marketing or in international market? The current issues is as a friend from Malaysia mentioned, we are still facing what we call it the high losses, low productivity of why? It's because of the small farmers size and high cost of production, and we have also still face the problem of food diversification. Mostly people is still have less consumption in vegetable and fruits, and COVID pandemic, it's a pushing up the people in Indonesia to have more consumption in fruit and vegetable. And desirable dietary patterns still is not implemented yet. And farmers' term of trade, this is the current issue that facing of our horticulture subsector in Indonesia. Next, please. Now, our colleague in the Directorate General of Horticulture, they have a program to promoting a qualified seed. They also developing the program, what we call it the smart farming, and farmer in the institutional empowerment. And they have also a program development of horticulture commodities, and of farm and processing management, and implementing the integrated pest management. That's the program that actually the Ministry of Agriculture want to develop to support of the horticulture subsector in Indonesia. Go ahead. Next. Lanjut. Yes. What is the achievement with the program? We have what increasing in terms of the productivity, lower cost production, and higher competitiveness. Outcome also, we hope that we can have better competitiveness in the vegetable and fruit market, and business will continue, and will have benefit economic growth and farmers welfare. Next, please. So the priority and Ministry of Agriculture, especially the Directorate General of Horticulture Priority, put horticulture priority commodities. First is potato, salad, mango, chili, medicinal plants, as I mentioned, orange, banana, mangosteen, and floriculture. That's the priority. Because if not put the priority commodities is too many variety, too many type of fruit and vegetable in horticulture sector. Next, please. So right now, horticulture value chain concept actually, as already mentioned, this is impact of the COVID pandemic should be market demand based on market intelligence. So also we have to know about the customer preference in terms of fresh product. We also follow what open market access for export, domestic market, and off-grid product for biofertilizer. And then the production also smart farming, or we call it also precision farming, optimizing on farm management, and very interesting now because of pandemic COVID. Also, there is a growing in terms of what we call it urban farming. Yeah, urban farming. Every household know they want to have what themselves grow vegetable and fruit in their own house, in their house, in the field, with the high quality competitive product and agrotourism. In the off-farm, optimizing post-harvest management with the put more collecting house, packing house, and cold chain system, and high value added product development, branding, packaging, commercialization, including high value food processing. Next, please. Now, but in terms of international market, horticulture product is still facing what, even though the tarification to within the Asian countries is low, even some of them is already zero. But we still facing what we call it non-tariff measure based on type in the Asian countries. You can see here, Brunei Darussalam, for example, there's a NTM 516 with the NTMs in SPS still higher, 31%, TBT 56%, and export-related measure is 9%. In Indonesia itself, we still apply in SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary, 20%, TBT 51%. And if we see Malaysia also still higher in terms of TBT and in terms of SPS NTM and export-related measure. I think, okay, next please.
2 more minutes, Bu Delima.
Okay, that's finished. I think, Pak Nazar, I think that in Indonesia, we still have our potential in terms of horticulture agribusiness, but we have to increase our competitiveness and increasing in our productivity and the quality of our horticulture. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. Also very nice presentation. Now we have got about information from two countries, Malaysia and Indonesia. We will continue with the information from the Netherlands. How are you, Mr. Nerim? Are you joining? Oh?
Yes.
Yes. Thank
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Very good. Thank you. A very good afternoon to everybody, and thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and also Mr. Tasrif, for inviting Rijkswaan to share our view on the horticultural agribusiness in the new normal. Am I sharing my screen at the moment already, or? So everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, so my name is Rens Knierim, and together with a great team of colleagues, experts in Asia, in various countries in Asia, I'm responsible for the development of Rijkswaan in this continent. And the PowerPoint presentation, I hope I can keep it short, is based on many discussions and interviews that we have had with farmers, traders, retailers, and other partners in the fresh produce chain. I would say not only in the Netherlands, but all over the world. I will start with a short introduction about our company, Rijkswaan. We are an independent family-owned company. Our company is characterized by autonomous growth, so we don't do acquisitions. And I would say we have also a unique company culture with a strong emphasis on freedom and responsibility. Our company at this moment employs more than 3,500 people, of which 1,450 approximately in the Netherlands, and more than 2,000 people in other countries and subsidiaries and countries all over the world. Our company is focused a lot on people, and our employee turnover rate is less than 3%, which is quite a good result if you compare that between companies. We are a vegetable breeding company. We have more than 30 subsidiaries in the world, and we are active in more than 100 countries. And we are actively breeding in 25 crops, and we have more than 1,200 commercial varieties that we sell all over the world. We consider ourselves at the start of the chain. For us, the chain is very important as a whole. So we are dealing, of course, with growers who grow the vegetables in the first place, but we also develop vegetable varieties and supply seeds to other partners in the chain, like traders, processors, retailers. So we are at the start of the chain, but we consider ourselves active in the chain at all levels. And we think that's very important because at the end, we need the feedback from consumers worldwide to make the right choices to breed for the right varieties. And breeding is a very long process. So it's important that we know the real needs of a market and not only the farmer needs, but also the retailer and the consumer needs. We have a lot of breeding objectives, of course, and we look to breed for improved varieties that are better aligned with climate conditions, but also with demographic shifts, very important in Asia as well, and of course also to changing consumer trends. So we look to quality and consistency, to taste and texture, shelf life, of course, but also producibility is very important for our farmers, and also to health and nutrition. The market requirements are changing all the time, and we have to take into account the entire supply chain in all our processes. Innovation is very important for seed companies, for seed breeding companies. Also there we are very active by listening closely and responding to the market needs. We offer a wide range of vegetable varieties and concepts. And we, as I said already, are continuously looking for how we can extend the range and how we can serve better the fresh produce. The innovations that we can do, that we can bring to the market, are a result of sharing production-related and market-related information with our partners. So a breeding company, Rijkswaan also cannot do it alone. We need to work very closely together with the farmers, with the fresh produce chain, because in the end, the real needs are coming through them. And it's very important when we are developing and launching new varieties to have a strong link with the specific production regions or consumer markets in order to be successful. Now coming to the effects of COVID-19 on fresh produce. When we look to fresh produce consumption, we recognize, as Rijkswaan, we have said, well, we recognize roughly 3 phases. The first phase is the lockdown phase, which happened in many countries. After that, there is a period of ease off, lockdown measures being taken away gradually. And then, of course, there's going to be a post-COVID phase. At this moment, in most countries, I would say we are in either lockdown or ease off phase. And we think that a number of things happen during the lockdown phase. We think that the revenue, there was a serious revenue collapse in the food service sector. People didn't eat out so much and or not at all. There was also a situation in many countries of panic buying. So actually many retailers benefited a little bit from that. Also in fresh fruit, there was higher sales in most retailers globally. It had its effect on pricing. We saw a decrease of sales of on-the-go and food service products. And then availability of labor was a challenge. That's a very insecure situation for producers and for processors and actually for all the players in the chain to make sure that we have enough people to do the job in our companies. That's a real challenge. And additional costs related to the pandemic. And as mentioned by, I think both my fellow speakers already, the online buying has increased, but also the local buying has increased. And we see, when we speak with the retailers, we see that they have been rationalizing shelf space. So they have been very well thinking already on how to use the space that they have in the stores. During the ease off phase, we have seen, or we have been told, and we have seen that the total fruit sales return to pre-COVID levels. In general, there might be, of course, exceptions in different countries, but in general, we have seen this. We have seen also that food service sales have risen, but we still also see that in many countries who are in the ease off phase, the levels are far from pre-COVID period. The retail still performs very strongly, but also the additional supply chain costs remain. We see that the whole situation has had a big impact on decisions from farmers on when and where and how to plant. And also has had a big impact on the sales strategies of diverse players in the chain. And that is the current situation in a nutshell. When you look at the feedback of all the, let's say, the parties and the partners that we have spoken to in the market, the expectations for the times to come, hopefully post-COVID, is that that new priorities and lifestyle are important. Food safety, health, probably more local versus international. E-commerce, very important. People will commute less. It's most likely to be a great opportunity for healthy foods and also for companies who offer home cooking solutions. It's predicted that for food service, it's going to continue to be difficult, and also for on-the-go concepts. And businesses will focus even more on costs, on spreading risks, on more resilient supply chains, and on reconsidering HR management, availability of people to work in our I think that these all these developments in the post-COVID phase are developments that would happen anyhow in many countries. But this whole situation, I think, has speeded up the developments very much, and therefore are more urgent for all of us to work on and to facilitate. Well, the fresh produce consumption changes, we think, will have a considerable impact on the whole fresh produce chain, as already mentioned. A little bit closer to Rijkswaan's playing field, we would say that breeders, nurseries, farmers, they need to secure essential supplies. They need absolutely to modernize in terms of labor use, in terms of mechanization and automation. We also think that for the Indonesian farmers, it is important that the government enables them to access to the right genetics and enables them to modernize their businesses. And vegetable breeding companies like Swan, they usually have a lot of expertise in modern crop management, like protected cultivation, which undoubtedly will increase. And very often our kind of companies are leading these developments in new markets through our people, through having experts on board who work very closely together with farmers. We also think that logistic companies and retailers will need to secure the logistics and sales channels, and they need to invest in efficient processes. E-commerce is expected to do a lot. They can only do that, retailers and logistic companies can only achieve that if they can rely on the fresh produce supplied to them. If farmers cannot improve the results, if farmers cannot innovate and have access to genetics and to new cultivation methods, then also traders, processors and retailers will have the difficulty to meet the demands of the consumers. And as I mentioned already, I think all these developments were already in progress before the COVID, but the post-COVID situation will demand faster and profounder action. How does a company like Rijkswaan adapt to the new normal? Vegetable seed breeding companies in general, in Europe at least, are seen as vital businesses because of our role in let's say, in the worldwide food security. We need seeds to produce food. Luckily, many governments worldwide understand the importance of farmers having access to the seeds and farmers having access and being trained in new cultivation methods, and allowing companies like Rijkswaan to play their essential role in the fresh produce chain. We think that especially the move towards protected cultivation, so crops moving from outdoor cultivation with all the disadvantages of produce waste, spraying, chemicals, pesticides, towards a protected environment where this can be much more avoided. We think that this is very important in almost every country in the world, and we think also in Indonesia and in other countries in Asia. So a few words on this protected cultivation. We think that quality and profitability for growers will go up in this concept. Research has shown that protected cultivation produces much higher quality produce and as a result also more profitability in the chain. Health is important. Controlled environments provide the opportunity to influence the components of the product. So you can steer on the crop with fertigation and with watering and produce better vegetables. The impact of the climate and the weather is less in these cultivations. So the harvest is more predictable and the amount of produce offered is more predictable. It's a safe production. There are less bacteria, less bugs, less pesticides used. Local production probably becomes more easy. So the produce traveling from far away is probably not necessary in many cases. And we believe it's really more sustainable. The use of water in protected crops is so much lower and so much better controlled than in open fields vegetable crops. Of course, there are vegetable types and vegetables that need open field production. But we are also convinced that in many cases, a strong conversion towards protected cultivation must be possible and should be made possible also with the support of our companies, also by the support of governments. A few words also, I would say, on successes that we have seen in countries like Malaysia and Vietnam. We see there a very strong export development. And because of this standards for quality and standards for safety, but also cultivation practices and average yields and predictability of harvest have improved a lot in these countries. So they are becoming, and they have become, good and reliable partners for foreign markets. And we have seen particularly Malaysia for a long time already strong in this, and we see recently also Vietnam rising a lot in this perspective. And what happens as a result of that is that governments over there, they apply a favorable regulatory environment regarding foreign ownership and intellectual property. And that is important for companies who are breeding vegetable varieties, but and that's important for the farmers so that they have access to these seeds. But also they get in this way more access to technological innovation. We cooperate with all kinds of companies and groups to increase the quality and the production output. In many cases, even without having to expand so much the agricultural land size. So it's a very important development. We think that the following success factors are important for Asia's vegetables development, we would say. We think it's important to have close cooperation, and very nice that we have the chance today to share our view also, as in cooperation with local governments, with country governments, but also with the sector, because we believe important basis of the produce chain to have access to quality seeds. And alongside that, it's important that the farmers will be exposed to knowledge transfer. Technical support, it's very important for the development of cultivation in many cases, in many individual cases, farmers with good or better practices could achieve much better results in terms of yield and quality. We also think that it's important that we work together in the chain. We need to be aligned with what the consumer demands at the end. Incomes are rising in many countries in Asia, also in Indonesia, considerably. The middle class is increasing a lot, and they will have, this middle class will have its strong demands on food characteristics, on healthy foods, on tasty foods, on innovative type of vegetables. And we should facilitate that by enabling the farmers to grow in the optimal way, but also listening to all the other partners in the chain. That was, I hope, very shortly a presentation about Rijkswaan's views on the post-COVID situation, on the new normal. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Rin. Short and very nice presentation. You also mentioned about success factor for development in Asia. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer session. I would like to see, I didn't see any question in the box. Yeah. Maybe I invite some participant, if you have any question or clarification or suggestion, please raise your hands. Hello. Huh?
Yes, some of them will answer.
Yeah.
Some of them already raise hand.
Yeah.
You can see in participant, they, yeah.
No, there is, huh?
Hello?
Oh, yeah. You?
Yeah, hello.
Okay. Yeah, you can start your question.
Thank you. My name is Galuh Akose from Polbangtan Yoma. Hello, Pak Nazarudin. Good afternoon. Can you hear my voice?
Good afternoon.
Lupa saya.
Yes.
Excuse me. We have, fortunately,
yes. I will continue to my question, sir. This is a general question, but how effective is online marketing in boosting a business, especially in horticulture? Because as you know, perhaps especially in Indonesia's case, this market segment between middle to upper and middle to lower, you can see that the market for middle to lower is larger. So and generally they do not use that much of online services. Thank you. That's just a question for me. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Ibu. I think for our speaker, please keep your answer. I'm sorry because we have one more speaker from Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, Dr. Arifin Tasrif. He will mention about impact of agricultural trade. I'm sorry, Bu Delima. There is an opportunity for
Yes.
Pak Arifin, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the last presentation. Then, of course, a lot of participants already waiting for answer and questions. So, but allow me to present the title of the topic is impact on NTMs on agriculture trade, challenge and opportunity for horticulture agribusiness. So, so what is an NTMs actually? According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that NTMs as a policy measures other than ordinary custom tariff that can potentially have an economic impact on international trade in goods, changing quantity, trade, or price, or both. So we are talking about now about possible trade to international trading partners. So the NTM classifications, there's numbers around 15 chapter, but I just want to focus on technical measures, which is the very significant impact on trade, which is the SPS, so already mentioned by previous speakers, technical bear to trace and shipment inspection and other formalities. How is the NTM's implementation in Indonesia? So for the SPS measures, TBT, and shipments, they implemented by a numbers of ministry and agency involved, including custom agency. It's already also present the previous paper, but what important is to show here is that the import of horticulture product in the last 3 years tend to increase. That import of horticulture in 2018 higher than 2017. But anyhow, that in the current situation of pandemic COVID-19, the recent data show that the export of horticulture products still higher from January to June 2020 compared to the January and June in 2019. That means that the potential for trading of horticulture still important. So based on that, the Indonesian NTMs Forum already conducted last year, and according to the MOT mentioned that Indonesia strive to prepare NTM policies and meet domestic interests, but also in line with the applicable international trade regulations. Implementing good NTMs is needed so that it can minimize trade losses in the future by reducing costs of forming ineffective NTMs and also avoiding retaliations by other countries in international trade forums and increasing Indonesian credibility in international trade. So the second one is how the technical measures of NTM implementation for horticulture. So if you want to propose the market access of horticulture, then the most important is the technical measures, which is TBT, SPS, and others. So that belong to these 3 measures that the unconventional measure, but here very rarely country want to implement, which is the recognition of equivalence, harmonization, mutual regulatory arrangement, and third-party inspection. This is a very important one. What's so-called that non-conventional implementation on the 3 of them. So if we are going to see the Indonesian position in the regional trade countries, so Indonesia is here, but how the role and place of Indonesia in ASEAN is already mentioned by the previous speakers, but how Indonesia play role in regional comprehensive partnership in East Asia, and also in TPP region, in APEC region, and in PACE region. So this is very important as market potential for horticulture in the near future. So if you can see in the slide that this is representing the 10 countries, the biggest implementation of NTMs. The first is the USA, representing the high level of income or the high income level. They're all of them they're covered by the high level income and also the middle income level. And also from Arab Saudi, then Indonesia will be in the number 43. So here the Indonesian position. So the first is the USA. So if you look at the non-tariff measure in ASEAN region, we can see that Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and also Vietnam is the 4 countries among the ASEAN members already produced the high numbers of SPS measure, including TBT. And if you see in the regional comprehensive region, you see that China and also Korea and also New Zealand is the biggest implemented SPS measure. High produced SPS measure within the ASEAN region. And also again in the TPP region, excluded the USA, that Canada, you see that more than thousands of SPS regulation has been published to protect the NTMs, the country, following by New Zealand, Peru, and Japan. And in APEC region, the APEC region consists of 21 nations, and you see that China followed by Canada is the biggest implementation production of SPS measure. So what is the impact of NTMs on agriculture trade? So NTMs actually, NTM actually is all policy related costs, excluded of tariff, and countries are allowed by the WTO to regulate for the correcting for this market, protect consumer health, standardization, certification, also labeling, and safeguard the environment of import ban protection. This is the original objective of the NTM. So if any country within the WTO willing to protect the domestic producer and make it difficult or costly import producers, so they actually implementing the non-tariff barriers for their non-tariff measure. So again, that why the non-tariff measure matters, because NTMs are often disputed when such measures are adopted or implemented in a non-transparent, discriminatory manner, most by intentionally to burden business in meeting existing regulation, and often even not in line with international trade agreement enforced in the WTO. The state will distort trade and have a negative impact on trade competitiveness. So this is an example how all of the world countries try to implement non-tariff barrier as a non-tariff measures. As you can see, Japan consents to Thailand regarding their policy, EU to US, Russian Federation to India, Thailand to Nepal, Colombia to EU, Colombia, etc. USA to Thailand. This is the concerns of country due to restriction of import horticulture and agriculture to another country. Again, that Argentina and United States concerns to Vietnam, Mexico to Guatemala due to that importation of agriculture and another with the issue on SPS and TPT and pre-shipment inspection. So what is Indonesia? Indonesia also, they are trying to protect the people's health by implementing non-tariff measure as a non-tariff barrier to European Union. Austria for coffee, tea, vegetable, Bulgaria, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, group of vegetable and horticulture and fruits, Netherlands, food safety, Poland, Apple, Portugal, Spain, table. This is the EU consent to Indonesia. And this is already taken from 3 to 7 years. Yeah, because assessment still be there. So in the same time, how the product Indonesia to another country? Pepper to European Union, still burdensome at the moment. Banana to Russia, pineapple to Russia, mangoes to Australia, dragon fruits to New Zealand, Australia, salaka to Vietnam, noni fruits to India, dragon fruits to China, and others. And this is already assessed from 3 to 8 years. Because as I say that, the trading partners still implemented conventional measure within the technical measures. So this is an example for Indonesian dragon fruits already proposed for market access to USA, to Australia since 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and this is 4 years ago. And this China, they just finished to complete assessment on import risk analysis. So hopefully by this year, dragon fruit Indonesia may enter to China by this year, but another one still in progress. So what is the challenge and opportunity for horticultural agribusiness in the near future? So if any country willing to propose market access, so importing country will conduct import risk analysis without, so the most of them just focus on SPS, but forget it about the TBT and PSI measure. This is another very important as well for 3 of them. When come into risk management, so actually for entering for the modern activity, modern measure is try to sit together by importing party, exporting party to start with technical cooperation to conduct harmonization, equivalence recognition, or party inspection and other mutual recognition arrangement for group of product where system based but not single product. This is happen right now. That's why what is the fact? Now the country already taken from almost 10 years, and Indonesia also take time about 7 years because they propose very conventional measure without any trying to propose a little bit unconventional. If possible, Indonesia may try to initiate how to booster a product to ASEAN region, to APEC, to TPP, and to RCEP by see how the agreement in place, how the FTA in place, how the PTA in place. Because this is a very big potential market. ASEAN among including 10 countries, APEC with 20 first countries, and RCEP within 16 countries, and TPP is 11 countries. A very potential market in the future. It's possible to do that. So that's why that the technical cooperation on MTMs, if possible to implement this one, harmonization, MRA, equivalency recognition, the participation to the member of ASEAN, APEC, RCEP, and TPP. So I think that the equal trade, balanced trade will happen between the importing and exporting party. Also that in bilateral one as well, that Indonesia also try to see the ongoing process of negotiation with the European Union, because this consists of 24 nations after England and the others already Brexit, and EFTA, the 4 countries out of the European Union, also very potential. Chile country representing the Mercosur, and Namibia representing the African country. So this is very potential in the future. It could be sit together, encourage the technical cooperation between the country. This is an example that how the modern of Indonesian implementation of recognition of equivalence to many countries, to New Zealand for food safety system in white system base. From the lesson learned, we can enlarge to bolster the horticulture trade to the trading business, trading partner in the same, the equal product. So, but the only thing can happen if the total quality management or supply chain management in total can be increased in quantity, quality, and continuity of product from land to table. Implemented the GAP, and whatever the standard agriculture needed there should be implemented at the reservoir, and then we try to propose the modern measure to the other partners. So with that, I come into conclusion that encourage technical cooperation and modern NTNs, which is harmonization, recognition of equivalence, MRA, the participation implementation among regional bilateral trade countries to bolster agricultural trade, joint preferential trade agreement or comprehensive economic partnership to gain market access, attract investment, positioning in regional and global value chain to carry out economic reforms. And lastly, the strengthen coordination between minister and agency to increase quantity, quality, and continuity of agriculture product, both in domestic and international market. So with that, I thank you very much for the moderator for the very short presentation. And thank you very much. I give it to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Arifin. The last, but is also very nice presentation. And now I think the participant very understand how to know the international trade generally. In the box, we have two questions. The first, as mentioned before, from Miss Galuh. Galuh from Jogja Agriculture Development Polytechnic. Her question is, how effective is online marketing officially in Indonesia, considering that the larger market share for horticulture in general is in the middle lower segment, who are usually unfamiliar with online market, especially for agricultural product. Maybe he mentioned about some middle or lower segment because they don't understand too much how to launch with online marketing. I think this question mentioned to, especially for Bu Delima maybe, and also to our three guest speaker. The second question comes from Dr. Yul Bahar. This is mentioned to Mr. Renz. Is your company has affiliation or cooperation with East West Seed Indonesia, with also famous Dutch seed company in Indonesia? If yes, how about form of cooperation, type of your cooperation? If not, how do you do your seed? What is it? This is not so clear in Indonesia. Could you also inform us about the cooperation with horticulture producer for seed production and supply? Yeah, this is both question. How is the Dutch company or your company, Mr. Ren, you make cooperation with the East West in Indonesia, and also cooperation with other horticulture producer of seed production and supply. Thank you. Maybe I invite Ibu Delima. Time is yours, Bu Delima.
Okay, thank you, moderator, Pak Nazar. And thank you also for Ibu Galuh. I think the role of the e-commerce, right now in the pandemic era, I think it's a must. Yeah, it's a must. Even though we all know that the structure in Indonesia is not really support this kind of mode of the e-commerce. But I think as you mentioned that some of the lower income and lower and middle income, they are not really have facilitation of this for e-commerce. But right now that the government try already spend or give allocation, budget allocation for really infrastructure. Infrastructure mean that networks and also facilitation for that. The important things also for the middle and up class, I think this is no problem because it's growing, as already mentioned also a colleague from Malaysia, that in the pandemic era that people must feel more comfort if they can buy or sell in using the e-commerce facilities. So the important what we need now is to guide to give support for the small medium farmers in the rural area to familiar with the e-commerce. I think in terms of the production, Ministry of Agriculture also already built some software regarding of how they can approach the smart farming, as I mentioned already, using the planting calendars, for example, and also the information regarding of the good agriculture practices, etc., to the gadget, yeah, using gadget, using application and gadget. Now for the marketing itself, sorry, some of the millennial companies, they already like a Tani Hub and others companies, startup, they also facilitate this how to provide information regarding of where, when, how many of production that available to direct information to customer or a big customer like restaurant, hotel, and catering companies. So I'm really optimistic with the use of e-commerce for the marketing of horticulture products. And some of the university, I think Polbangtan also can participate in driving this situation by using their expertise to guidance of the farmers, guidance of the big facilitator like Tokopedia, Lazada, Shopee, etc. to support this thing. So the important thing is supporting from the government for the infrastructure and also if infrastructure already there, also supporting to buy the gadget itself, to buy the gadget itself. I think that's my opinion, and hopefully that during pandemic era, this time the use of the e-commerce can be also support not only from the government but also get the support from the private sector, private company. I think that's all my position. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Ibu Delima. Before I move to other speaker, there is one more question mentioned to you. How this is from Ana Saleh. How to minimize the post-harvest losses? Likewise, how to have a sound logistic cold storage system to maintain the supply for difficult time, such as when travel restriction are applied, like right now. Please, Bu Delima. They ask about losses, especially.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Nazar. I remember that when we Nazar also in the same Directorate General of Processing and Marketing in Ministry of Agriculture, we do have our program that what we call Agribusiness. And single fruit and big city split up in agribusiness. That's all reduce of Bandung sampah. How to reduce or to minimize the waste? I think this is very important that we also provide in the very near of the center of production, the facility of like cold storage and packaging facilities. So first, provide the infrastructure. The second thing is also when during in the field, how to harvest the product itself. Then we need also to take the technology, the good harvest handling. I think we can see from the presentation of Nirim and also presentation of Nolila in Malaysia, like they used to produce the fruit and vegetable in a modern technology. They're using the greenhouse, for example. So they can control everything. They can control the climate. They can control the pests and disease. They control the use of water. It's very modern in terms of how to produce. Now, when you see also there's a trend in urban area, they have urban farming, like a big city in Tokyo, big city in Singapore. They try use a building to produce a fruit and vegetable in a way to control the control of production, can increase the productivity, the quality, and also reduce the waste. I think if you ask me how to reduce the waste, this is very significant, very important problem in Indonesia, because almost 70% of production of fruit and vegetable in Indonesia is cannot marketable for the international market. Because of this, we cannot control the quality, we cannot control the harvest method, and cannot control the waste. So the important thing is use the technology, modern technology, and with the sustainability way. That's my question. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Delima. I think it's a very clear answer. Maybe you want to add some more comment, Prof. Nolila, about this one, losses, or especially for marketing online?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Okay, actually, when we talk about, especially the first question on online marketing, in Malaysia, of course, I mean, when we look at the data itself, okay, from what I can say that from the total population of 33.1 million of Malaysian population, the one that are using internet users in Malaysia, we have around 28.7 million internet users, meaning that they have access to the internet. So that's why in terms of online marketing in Malaysia, it's not really a big issues or gap when we talk about the lower income and the middle or upper income. I mean, maybe because our country is not that big compared to to Indonesia. So that's why, I mean, in terms of internet coverage or internet connection is not really a big problem. And then when we talk about online marketing, it normally can reach a lot of consumers. So that's why, I mean, during my presentation, you can see that there's a lot of impact when you talk about online marketing, how it can help the horticulture industry during this pandemic situation. So in terms of Malaysia, I think there's not really a big issues when you compare between lower income and higher income. And then when you talk about post-harvest losses, of course, this is basically main issues when you talk about horticulture industries, because we are dealing with perishable nature of that produce itself. So of course, I mean, the way we handle the losses at the farm or during this transportation is very important. So that's why, I mean, I think for Malaysia, it's not really, I mean, like a really big issues, because we are quite a small country. I think that's why, I mean, in terms of logistic, it's not that far away for the produce to reach to the consumer market. So, but of course, I mean, losses is still there. It's just that it's controllable when we talk about Malaysian horticulture industry. So this is what I can share, I mean, with the audience today related to Malaysian perspective. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Nolila. You have one more question from Dr. Yul Bahar. Any impact of the COVID-19 to the horticulture production, supply, and marketing, especially from production center of Malaysia to Singapore?
Okay, when you talk about export market, of course, I mean, during the early stage of COVID-19, especially during the MCO, the first phase, I mean, because in Malaysia, we have 7 or 8 phase, if I'm not mistaken. So of course, during the first phase, I mean, the restriction is very, very huge. I mean, because the border are closed, but after that, like I mentioned during my presentation, we moved to a conditional movement. And then after that, we are now in the recovery movement control order. So the process of exporting is currently, I mean, it's better compared to the early stage. But of course, I mean, the due to this situation, when you talk about how much that we can export compared to the normal situation, of course, the impact is there. I mean, it's just that the government are doing something to make sure that our vegetables or our fruits that are we exporting to certain countries are still, I mean, in the normal way, or we still, I mean, do not have lots of restriction, things like that. I mean, that's all that I can say. I mean, of course, I mean, when you talk about whether the impact is there or not, the impact is there. It's just that we are trying to minimize the impact as possible as we can. I mean, with the help of the agency, a government agency as well.
Yeah, thank you. But also you have one more. I think this is the last. The question is from Tri Ratnasari Dewi, Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic. I want to ask about the contribution of university to help farmers to solve of their problems during COVID-19 in Malaysia, especially in research and empowering farmers activities.
Okay, thank you for the questions. So basically, when you talk about the role of the university, of course, I mean, the one things that we are contributing normally, I mean, we academicians were asked to write in the newspaper related to the issues. I mean, for example, like me myself, there's one article that I written about the how the farmers or the horticulture sectors need to improve or need to apply or need to move towards using marketing or online marketing in I mean in doing their business. And at the same time, some of our academic, I mean, I'm talking about UPM. I mean, I'm talking about UPM because I'm in UPM. And then some of the lecturers, they are also going outside, I mean, to the farmers and then helping them with whatever that we can. And then at the same time, I mean, the government itself, they also asking us to do a proposal relating to the impact of COVID-19, or how we can do, how the university or academician can help with research related to post-COVID. I mean, or how that we can contribute back to the society. For example, like me myself, I also applying for a grant to look at the impact of COVID-19 to the supply chain sector, but unfortunately it's not it's not successful. I mean, because we are I mean required to compete, I mean to apply for. But this is among the things that the academician were asked to do. I mean to share with the public related to the situation of COVID-19. So that's among the things that we are doing at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Nolila. I think it's very clear answer, Bu Dewi ya. I hope, Prof, I hope one time we can make a good cooperation with UPM University. Yeah, for the next, we can make keep contacts.
Yeah. Of course.
Thank you again. Now, the question is mentioned to Mr. Rens, yeah, about
Yes.
cooperation with East West in Indonesia, and also with the seed producers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's very nice that you mention our colleagues from East West Seed. I think we have a long-term good relation with many people in that company, and I think they have contributed very much to support smallholder farmers in bringing improved genetics and bringing security to smallholder farmers. We do not have a cooperation with East-West Seed in Indonesia. It's also not so easy to have cooperation between seed companies because genetics is really a long-term development, and it's something that we as breeding companies want to protect, and we want to make sure that we can build on our pipeline. And also we think in Indonesia there are many farmers, but we try to look and we try to imagine for the long term how this market would look like and how this market need to be modernized. And a company like Rijkswaan, we try to look really to it's important, the smallholders and the big amount of farmers, but it's also important to look, okay, how can we develop these smallholders to a next level, and how can we create really professional and profitable businesses. But to do that in Indonesia, and that is then related to the seed production part of the question, the access, there are some barriers in Indonesia for a foreign seed company to work. And although we see that the government is doing great efforts to support the farmers and to also to protect the farmers, and I think that's very important. At the same time, we should understand that the seed production law could be also a barrier for foreign seed companies to be active in the country. And we think that seed production is something specialized. We do that in various specialized internal locations in the world. And we think that in the end, also the value of the output of farmers is much higher than the value of the seeds for the Indonesian market. So we would say that as Rijkswaan, we have the opinion that we should look to, okay, what do genetics do for improving the horticultural agribusiness position of Indonesia as compared to what does domestic seed production do to that. That's a huge difference in value. And as Rijkswaan, we are really at the moment looking, well, what are the opportunities for us to be active in Indonesia? And then there are barriers, there are also possibilities. And of course, we are talking to the involved parties, and we are open to talk further on these matters. But this is, yeah, for a foreign seed company, also not the easiest environment to operate. So I hope that gives an answer to your question.
Thank you, Dr. Ren. There is one more question for you. There is from YouTube. Is there any reason of artificial intelligence used on handling the recent situation caused by the COVID-19? Maybe you have a special intelligence to handle this?
No, I would say no. We are not yet into the relation between artificial intelligence and the COVID situation. No.
Yeah. Wait a minute. There is one more. This is thank you, Dr. Rens. Yeah, if maybe will be appears one or two more questions, I'll invite you again. Now to Dr. Nolila, how far the participation or intervention the UPM to solve the horticulture production in pandemic COVID-19? Time is yours, Prof. Nolila.
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, when you talk about the participation or intervention by UPM specifically, of course, I cannot say there's a direct intervention given by us, I mean, as an institutional or as a university. But of course, I mean, some of our professors involved within the ministry, I mean, by giving, for example, like giving assistance or information, or what we call it, nasihat, what we call it, advice, okay, sorry, for giving advice to the ministry on how to overcome the issues when you talk about during this current pandemic situation. But of course, I mean, when we talk about production, actually there's not much problem, I mean, in terms of the farmers produce because there's no restriction for the farmers to go out and then do their farming activities. It's just that we are talking, of course, I mean, your question also about the marketing. But of course, I mean, when you talk about marketing, the government are also doing something, especially through FAMA. We have these Federal Agriculture Marketing Authorities. And of course, I mean, FAMA, for example, also playing the roles in buying or in assisting the farmers who cannot sell their produce, and then they purchase the produce and then sell back to the community by using their platform. Because like, for example, this farmer organization, they also have this online platform. It's just that compared to the commercial provider like Lazada or Shopee, of course, they are much more bigger, and then they are much more what we call stable. But I mean, in terms of the government, they are also using, and then like UPM, of course, the direct intervention, we do not have that kind of direct intervention. But of course, I mean, we are giving advice to the ministry on how to overcome the situation during this pandemic COVID-19. And also, like I mentioned earlier, the universities or UPM itself, we are sharing information or anything that related to agriculture through our writing using a newspaper rather than journals, because we know that when we talk about journals, the impact or the audience that are reading journals not directly to the community, for example, farmers or anyone. But when you talk about writing in newspapers, so the audience is more, I mean, direct to the farmers or the community that we are targeting. So this is among the things that the university are doing in helping or in assisting how the farmers can do better during this pandemic situation in horticulture or in agriculture sectors. I hope I'm answering the answer correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Nolila. Very interesting. Ren, Dr. Delima want to respond about seed industry policy to you, Ren. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bu Delima, time is yours.
Yeah, thanks. It's very interesting because you mentioning that that is the seed industry is really. I mean, the seed industry policy in Indonesia is one of become a constraint to develop of seed industry in Indonesia. Actually, the reason is we want also Indonesia want to improve the capacity of the seed industry itself. You know, the justification, the reason behind this kind of policy. So we limit the share of the foreign seed industry. With the purpose that actually we have a cooperation in this to build the seed industry in Indonesia. So if you have a proposal, want to make a joint venture or develop the seed industry in Indonesia, you are so welcome. Yeah. So I think because as we know that our capacity in, especially in horticulture seed, yeah, as mentioned by participant Pak Yulisa, if not wrong, there is a big seed industry in Indonesia right now. They East West Indonesia, the name of the company. So we encouraging your company, for example, with the to invest or to have a joint venture in Indonesia with the local partner to improve the seed industry in Indonesia. So that's my additional explanation about the seed industry policy in Indonesia. We are not restricted, but we want to cooperation in this matter. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Delima, for addressing this. And I understand also from your perspective the reasoning. But probably I invite you also to discuss probably together with me a little bit more on this topic, probably also to get more clarity, but also to bring across some of the, I think important considerations for an international breeding company in terms of intellectual property protection, in terms of quality control standards, etc., that are for us as Rijkswaan very important and that are not so easily exported or developed anywhere. So there's very important process in there and a very important project, I would say. And I'm very open to discuss with you more on, well, how should we do that? And how can we then deal with the production laws and with these foreign ownership laws that, and also with the quarantine practices, which are for us currently barriers. But I'm very open to discuss with you because Rijkswaan is very serious to look into the opportunities in Indonesia. We believe it's a great country with great potential, even compared as in the world, great potential.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Pak Nazar. Also, we can directly with the.
You're welcome, Bu. Thank you.
Thank you. But maybe Pak Nazar, because Ryan's also mentioning about the quarantine problems. Since Pak Arifin also the alumni of quarantine agency in Indonesia, probably he can have also views regarding of the seed industry policy in Indonesia. If you allow to ask Pak Arifin also. Thank you,
I think
Nazar.
we should probably outside of this webinar continue our discussion, but I think we are all on the same page. We want to support the sector in Indonesia. We want to make results. So that's the starting.
Okay, thank you, Range.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Delima. I directly invite Pak Arifin to give some comment regarding seed industry or other purpose.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I mentioned before in some presentation regarding that for the market access of horticulture, for the first country willing to propose that the party may take into account the import risk analysis and to consider another aspect of SPS, TBT, and pre-shipments. And after that, two countries may sit down together and how possible to come up with the win-win solutions. Equivalence recognitions, for instance, harmonization regulation, and mutual recognition arrangement. This is only to get the mutual benefit between importing party and exporting party in aspect of sanitary and sanitary reason. That's all, Pak Nazar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Arifin.
Now, Dr. Ida Arsanti is joining us. Now, maybe you have some comment regarding our seminar, Bu Ida. Time is yours.
Masih di mute. Masih di mute.
Halo.
Yes.
Please. Halo, Ida Santi.
Okay, thank you, Pak Nazarudin. Time for me. I apologize that I have another agenda, so that's why I could not join this very important seminar since beginning, but in the middle. But yeah, I think this seminar is very important because now all of us face the condition of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic situation, and because of this situation, the condition, particularly in agriculture, getting worse in some situation. But actually, agriculture need to be support, need to be developed, and also very important for having food sovereignty or food stabilization in Indonesia. Uh, yeah, we are trying to do from the government side that we have a policy that this condition, this pandemic situation is not going worse and then going to the economic crisis or maybe the food crisis. So that's why how we can understand this situation, and also can understand that agriculture and also horticulture is very important, particularly for immunity, improving the immunity of the people, and also having more nutrition food for us. And in some case, we also have evidence that horticulture is have a positive impact also for the farmers. Even in general, maybe there are problems also for example in marketing because there are many restriction, and also for logistic and so on. But in other case also the horticulture give a positive impact of the farmers. And then our farmers also that having connection with the digital or technology usually could survive in this COVID pandemic. So that's why I think this seminar that have the a topic of horticulture and how to face the new normal condition in this situation is very important because we need to we need to develop the horticulture sector to be more sustainable. And then even I could not join since the beginning, but some discussion about the seed and then cultivation, production, processing, and also the marketing. It is very important to be support. And then through this seminar also, we are hoping that we can learn, so we can do benchmarking from other country, from Netherlands, Mr. Rain, and also from Malaysia, Professor Nolila, and also from Indonesian resource speaker. I thank you very much for your ideas and also for your presentation that could be maybe in some case we can learn from you and also develop our horticulture sector. And also hoping that after this webinar, it is not stop until this webinar only, but we could develop also the next or more collaboration with the Netherlands and also with the Malaysia, because our Polbangtan, yeah, Pak Siswoyo as the director, as the host of this international seminar, hoping that our polytechnic that is a vocational agriculture education, yeah, could produce the alumni that have skillful, that's having a skillful for agriculture. And with collaboration with other countries, for example with Netherlands and also with Malaysia, the quality of our education, particularly in terms of vocational study, will be developed. So I very support for this seminar, international webinar, and hoping for further collaboration and also more experience, more sharing information that could solving the problem of agriculture and particularly horticulture. Thank you, Pak Nazar. This is maybe short comment from us, and yeah, this seminar is very useful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Ida. I think very complete and clear information about the benefit of this seminar. Hopefully, we can continue our cooperation with, especially with guest speaker or University Putra Malaysia and some other company or university. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end part of this seminar. Before I close the seminar, I would like to invite Dr. Siswoyo, Director of Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, to deliver his closing remarks. Dr. Siswoyo, time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Nasaruddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala who has been giving us blessing so we can hold this webinar successfully. On behalf of Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, I would like to give my appreciation and gratitude to Professor Dr. Dedi Nur Samsi, as Director General of the Agency for Extension and Human Resources Development of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Ida Widi Arsanti, Head of the Agricultural Education Center, Ministry of Agriculture, the speakers, participants who have contributed to the success of this international webinar, and all staff of Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, especially the Horticulture Agribusiness Study Program for holding his webinar. I hope this international webinar is useful for us. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Siswoyo. And also thank you to Dr. Ida Arsanti, our guest speaker, Rain from the Netherlands, Professor Nolila from UPM, Malaysia, Ibu Delima, our senior researcher, and Dr. Arifin Tasrif for your informative and interesting presentation. And my thanks to all participants for very active participation. Udah. Excuse me for all participants and especially for guest speakers for today's seminar because maybe I need your time for 1 or 2 minutes for waiting our Director General. He will join us to deliver some information or explanation, I think. Only for 1 minute. Ada, Pak? uh, while waiting for our Director General, maybe Pak Arifin want to add some more comment regarding our international trade. Time is yours, Pak Arifin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, let me add a little bit about how important the NTMs are if you want to trade our horticulture. So many of us, or even the e-commerce do not know actually how to fulfill the importing country requirements in terms of NTM's measure. That's why a numbers of product of under the e-commerce after arriving in the importing country immediately disturbed, immediately suspension or immediately detention by the quarantine people. That's why the NTMs before e-commerce begins, the company shall know what is the importing party requirements, because the e-commerce sometimes physically not meet, but the product already flying to the importing party. So this is very important one to know. The second one is that the experience so far that the importing party and exporting party, they are facing difficulty because they are proposed one by one product. And sometimes the duration of the process of market access, it takes time until 10 years. Because why? Because I do believe that the importing party impose the non-tariff barriers as a non-tariff measures. So that's why the best way is come into technical cooperation to see how the regulation of the importing party, how the anti-regulation of exporting party, and try to see the way they can propose for the harmonization, where regulation may come up with the recognition of equivalence and what other things dealing with the conformity assessment, and come up with the mutual recognition arrangement. The only thing the importing party and the exporting party may increase win-win solution for the exporting and importing product, and they may propose the not single product but the single white.
Thank you, Pak Arifin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dr. Arifin. Welcome, Professor Dr. Dedi Nusamsi, Director General, the Agency for Extension and Human Resources, Development of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, the Republic of Indonesia. Now we are waiting for your coming, Prof. Dedi. Now time is yours. Maybe you want to say something or add some comment about our seminar. Time is yours, Dr. Dedi.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya menyambut baik acara internasional webinar ini. So, good morning for particularly Netherlands, and good afternoon for Indonesian and Malaysian. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to welcome to the speakers from Netherlands, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all participants for joining this international webinar. Thank you for making the time to join our seminar today. It is a great moment for us to have Professor Nolila Mohamed Nabi from Malaysia, Mr. Rens Knirin from Netherlands, Dr. Delima Zahari and Dr. Arifin Tasrif from Indonesia for sharing information and experience through this international seminar with the title about competitiveness and sustainability of horticulture agribusiness in the new normal. I hope this conference can enrich our knowledge regarding the name of this seminar. This international webinar is conducted by Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic, one of vocational education polytechnic under Ministry of Agriculture, Republic of Indonesia. As we all know, the COVID-19 has devastating impact across the world and affects also the aspect of human life. The pandemic COVID-19 gave negative impact for international and national economic growth, including the agricultural sector. However, we are requesting all stakeholders hand in hand work together to face impact of pandemic and find any needed solution. Well, before the seminar begins, please allow me to introduce the responsibility of our government in strengthening Indonesian agriculture, especially horticultural agribusiness. Agribusiness improvement is part of integrated effort to increase added value and competitiveness of agricultural sector. In order to increase farmer welfare. However, climate change, land conversion, for out of agricultural purpose, decreasing of young farmers in agricultural sectors, soil fertility and pests and disease need our special attention to ensure horticultural agribusiness sustainability. Partnership between farmers and related stakeholders, as well as increasing of human resource development capacity, also need our special effort to build our bargaining power of farmers. Ladies and gentlemen, the development of horticultural, vegetables, fruit, and ornamental plants, as well as biopharmacology, is targeted to reach 1.220 million tons by 2024. Since 2019, the Indonesian government launched the national program, which we call Kostratani, Komando Strategis Pembangunan Pertanian Tingkat Kecamatan. This program is developed in all sub-district level of Indonesia. The main objective of this program is to increase the competitiveness and added value of agricultural product with the ultimate goal of increasing farmers' income and welfare. The role of agricultural human resources, starting from upstream in production, post-harvest, include processing and marketing, is very important to boost the trade balance of horticultural products. The Ministry of Agriculture encourages the strengthening of agricultural development from upstream to downstream, EA facilities, infrastructure, on-farm and off-farm, in achieving the export target. One of the ways to improve agricultural performance is through the development of vocational education to increase the competitiveness of horticultural agribusiness. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I wish the contribution of draw and discussion of the topics discussed can provide insights and benefits for the development of the Indonesian horticultural subsector. Hopefully, the webinar gives you opportunity to expand your network between participants. I think that's all. Have a great webinar and good luck for you. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Last but not least, again, thank you very much, Prof. Dedi, Dr. Ida Nursanti, Dr. Siswoyo, our guest speaker, Rens Nieren from Netherlands, Prof. Nolila from UPM University, Dr. Delima Azahari, our senior researcher, and Dr. Arifin from Bogor Agricultural Development Polytechnic. Hopefully the seminar will be beneficial for all of us. Let's please give applause for the speakers and for you all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Masih jauh dari target. Oh, belum ada. Ntar nggak diceritain tadi sama Maria.
Terima kasih Pak Dedi.
Udah bisa keluar nih. Udah bisa lip. Klik aja.
Yang mana? Terima kasih banyak Bu Ida, Bu Delima, Ren, Prof. Nolila.
Sekarang saya kena 1 minggu merdeka.
Perbaran nilai segala macam tadi kita bisa saja nanti yang saya maksud evaluasi betul pelajaran kita bisa menggunakan kata COVID proses transisi tidak lebih baik pelajaran dalam semester 2 ini suatu dinamik soal kita terjadi lagi bisa kita berhadapan harus ideal
silakan kalau sama ayah, kalau mama nggak bisa.
Ada yang perlu salah. Walaupun nanti kalau saya nyoba praktek beneran kan akan terbaca di HP. Empat semester lagi akan mau dia.
Seminar.
Karena kondisinya memang terang begini. Kita buru-buru mau biaya anak-anak kita investasi dari COVID. Kalau semester ini asal tidak terlalu ada yang di bawah yang akan terancam di bawah, yang lain-lain kalau belum itu.
Apalagi juga ini kan ada nilai yang diberikan oleh bisnis tentunya.
Ya, jadi kalau kita mau edit yang mana saja, misalnya di kelas master atau di kelas paralel, kalau kita mau mengedit, kita pertama adalah mencari pensil. Itulah tempat mengedit, mau menghapus atau menambah. Nah ini sekarang setelah terbuat kelas paralel, masukkan teman pengajarnya. Itu di bagian mana ya? Saya lupa lagi.
Dalam saja bukan di dalam.
Lewat sini kan juga bisa sebenarnya ya.
Juga di situ ya.
Ya, bisa juga. Ya, kita kalau gitu kita cek sekarang ya. Kita cek apakah sudah muncul atau belum. Ya, kita cari ini. Dan tulisannya semester awal 2020. Ada kelas sudah masuk belum? Nah, ini sudah masuk kan? Ya.
Mungkin itu saja karena waktu juga. Kalau masih ada masukan 1, 2, silakan Pak.
Nah, kalau mau melihat, kita klik dulu ini, akan tampak botani. Kita klik. Nah, sudah masuk. Sekarang kalau kita mau menambahkan teman sesama dosen, kita klik di peserta. Serta kita klik yang dosen. Kemudian ambil yang tambah.
Sabar Ibu Katri. Sabar.
Tadi tambah.
Ya, tuh sudah muncul.
Ya, muncul ini.
Tulis namanya Sarkanti.
Tulis data.
Tidak harusnya
Betul nih Ibu Katri tadi keluar ki.
Ya.
Klik tambah.
Klik itu, klik.
Sudah ini masih loading.
Oh ya.
Nanti Bu, kan ada bagi 13.
Oke. Pilih aja. Nah, itu ada banyak sekali nama dosen. Di search, cari ganti di search itu di atas.
Atas kanan ya.
Dia sama siapa teman di botani?
Ganti. SY. Antara A dan SS.
Ini gimana? Mau disalahin loh. Bukan diintin sih.
Misalnya langsung muncul jatuh.
Oke.
Ya itu loh.
Ya, sudah.
Belum, nggak ada ini pasti. Oh, ada. Nah, ini jangan lupa kita centang ini, ya. Kemudian klik daftar.
Nah, sudah ada anunya. Profil kamu yang buat. Oh.
Nah, ini berarti sudah masuk.
Oh, iya, bagus.
Sudah masuk dalam.
Ini Parus. Ini ada namanya satu. Kalian Parus, Tabe. Ini Gatri sebagai pembuat kelas ini justru tidak ada namanya di sini. Apakah kita perlu tambah juga secara manual tambah diri kita sendiri di sini atau bagaimana? Tidak ada ini bukan ada di sini.
Kita kirim sendiri.
Bisa, Pak. Kalau misalnya bisa, cuma misalnya apa perlu atau tidak.
Tambahkan saja lebih aman.